Hello there and welcome to this Advective weather video. We have that enhanced risk 3 out of 5 still in place, and it has been expanded quite substantially since yesterday, now reaching from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex all the way to Laredo on the Mexican border. And along the way, following the I-35 corridor, including San Antonio, Waco, Temple. Specifically for Waco and Temple, there is an elevated tornado risk today, as well as for areas just west of these cities. However, within the enhanced risk, the primary threat is hurricane force winds to 75 miles an hour or greater, and very large to giant hail. Fairly widespread 3-inch hail is expected today anywhere within the enhanced risk, especially the northern part, so particularly in the southern Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and through to Waco and Austin. You need to be aware of very large hail. Obviously, take necessary hail precautions. Within the strongest storms, we could see hail exceed 4 inches, getting up to softball size or larger, which will definitely cause some serious damage if that storm occurs over a populated area. And once again, damaging wind gusts to 75 miles an hour or higher are expected with some of the storms today. Having a look at the overall setup, you can see that there is a low centered over Texas with a cold front moving southeastwards, and that's what's initiating the storms today. A lot of energy in the warm sector south of that warm front, which is going to be driving that particularly large hail. There is also a marginal risk across the east coast, but it's just for low-end wind and hail, no tornado threat, so we're not covering that particularly in this video. Just thought I'd let you know. Focusing on the main threat today then, that enhanced risk once again coming from Dallas-Fort Worth down to Laredo, including Waco, Austin, San Antonio, Del Rio just into the marginal risk, Victoria on the edge of the enhanced and the slight risk, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, Houston, Longview, Paris, Lufkin, Galveston, all in that slight risk for wind and large hail. Looking at the tornado risk, somewhat limited today, but there is the potential for a couple of tornadoes, particularly in that 5% bullseye, the brown region, including Waco, Temple, and areas west of those cities. When the storms first fire, they'll be favourable for tornadoes. If they can become surface-based, we could well see a couple of damaging tornadoes. Of course, follow any tornado warnings and seek shelter, and have a way to receive those warnings. Moving on to the wind threat, you can see that the large wind risk today, that's 30% hatched area for centennial hurricane force winds or greater, and pretty much the same area all the way from DFW down to the Mexican border is under a significant hail risk with the probability of 3-inch or greater hail throughout that region. Looking at the projected radar from the HRRR model, you can see that storms will fire in a couple of hours across central Texas, and then it will unzip along the line with some big hailstorms happening all the way down into Mexico. They will then grow upscale, form a line, and that's where the big wind comes into effect. So primary threat at first is hail, then that shifts to the wind as the event goes on, but potentially still some very large hail into the evening hours. And those northern storms in the central Texas, that's where the primary tornado threat is. Can't rule out a brief spin-up tornado along the line somewhere else, but most likely tornadoes, if any do occur, will be in that 5% bullseye across central Texas. Now, moving on to tomorrow, a bit of deja vu, very similar to yesterday, although without the 3 additional slight risks, just focusing on the Florida Panhandle and southwest Georgia tomorrow. 2 out of 5 slight risk driven by the elevated tornado threat, 5% risk in place. Damaging wind threat also present with this slight risk, but large hail is not expected. And looking at the setup, you can see that low pressure system from today has moved fairly slowly, and it's over the northern Gulf of Mexico. Second low pressure system in the Carolinas and Virginia with a cold front between them, and that's what's initiating the storms tomorrow. That slight risk once again coming from Destin through Panama City, Tallahassee, just west of Gainesville is where that ends. There's that 5% tornado risk that I was talking about, pretty much the same as yesterday. In fact, it'll be quite a similar setup in terms of the tornado threat. We did have a PDS tornado warning yesterday and several other confirmed tornado warnings, so just because it's 5%, Gulf Coast can do some interesting things sometimes. Take it seriously as always. And there's that elevated wind threat, but not hatched, so at this time not expected to reach hurricane force. and a general severe hail threat, but not expected to be particularly large. Shouldn't get more than an inch or so. And looking at the model threat for tomorrow, you can see that there's those showers and low-topped mini supercells across the region early on, and then that big mass of storms comes through, which is actually remnant convection from today's event. The storms from today will move out into the Gulf of Mexico, move across the northern Gulf of Mexico, and then reinvigorate as the sun warms up the air tomorrow and come on shore at quite a strength potentially. And so there is the possibility that we could see the wind threat upgraded with this, not out of the question, but at this time not expected to be that substantial. Primary threat of concern is the tornado threat. And that could come from both the low-top supercells early on, or as the line comes ashore with embedded rotations. Finally, just a quick reminder, always helpful. Tornado watch issued is when storms are possible in the next few hours for your location. You do not need to take any immediate action, but you should double check you know what to do if a tornado warning, or indeed a severe thunderstorm warning, is issued for your location. In the event of a destructive severe thunderstorm warning with baseball-sized hail or larger, or hurricane-force wind gusts, treat it the same as you would a tornado warning and move to your safe place away from any windows, because baseball-sized blocks of ice moving at 75 miles an hour very likely to blow out windows and throw tree limbs around, and you don't want to be hit by flying glass or debris during a storm like that. And indeed, hurricane-force winds are equivalent to an EF0 tornado, so some overlap between the two in that situation. We're not expecting particularly strong tornadoes today, so perhaps that comparison more applicable than other days, but still, take care if you're in a warning and seek shelter, please. Of course, I would hope most people in Texas know what to do in the case of a tornado, but if you know someone new who's moved to the area and is used to tornadoes, make sure they know what to do in severe thunderstorms or tornadoes. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back again the next time a weather update is needed to keep you aware of the weather situation in the US or across the world. Thank you very much, stay safe, and have a good day.